Hey guys, so it seems that all of the facial hair has left my face. I don't think it liked me very much. Hello everyone, this is Teripper, and today we're going to be talking about some D&D. Yes, I did shave my whole face, and yes, my girlfriend did reprimand me for it. Don't care too much. Sometimes I just like to take all of it off, but you guys have never seen me like this, without any facial hair at all, so let me know what you guys think. I don't care, this isn't a fashion channel, just, opinionation and all that. And what I am talking about today, nothing to do with Chivalry, this is another D&D oriented video, and it is in fact specifically oriented toward a question that I was going to answer during my Q&A I did a couple weeks ago, but I did not actually do because I wanted to make a video about it because I thought it was a really cool question. That question was asked by Totes McGoats, and he asks, what is my favorite race to play, favorite class to play, and favorite race class combo in 5e? I thought I'd make a short, cute little video about this because I love talking about characters I've played in D&D, and just generally about stuff I like to play in it. I love DMing in D&D. In fact, I'd say I enjoy DMing more than being a player, at least at the moment. That changes by the weather. But I love being a player. It's so much fun. Before I get into this video, however, for all of those of you who gave your information on the D&D response thing, I think about 50 of you so far. That's incredible. That's at least like 8 or 9 parties worth of one-shots. So that's pretty awesome. I am going to be using that stuff. I am going to be sending out communications and whatnot. Just stay tuned because I've been having some very busy days and busy weeks these last couple times. I just had midterms. That's the biggest reason. So bear with me, please. But they're going to be fun. It's going to be one-shots, most of them being completely different. They're all going to be streamed on Twitch. It's going to be fabtacular. So stay tuned for that. And now on to the video and question at hand. So, my favorite race and race class combo. I assumed Totes McGoats was asking about which ones I have the most fun with. Because if I were to choose the ones that I think are most mechanically valuable, I'd probably get them wrong because I'm really not much of a min-maxer. I don't spend a lot of time on that sort of thing. So I'm making this video entirely from the perspective of what classes and races I like to play the most due to their fun factor. So, to begin, let's look at some races. Now, I've noted my top 2 or 3 because I didn't want to just pick one. You can't do that as a role player. You can't limit yourself, ever. And that's why I have actually 3 top 2 races. It's odd, but I'll get around to it. My number 1 race, and a lot of people will probably really dislike this, is human. I think the majority of the characters I've played in the past couple years, probably ever since I started playing, were human. Simply because humans come with no preconceptions attached to their race, right? Nothing. They are short-lived. They're one of the most short-lived races, next to, I think, half-orcs. They are very ambitious. They're very quick to reproduce. They're a bit more warlike, I think, than the other races. I don't know what the actual D&D 5e lore behind it says per se. I haven't completely read all of this stuff. But they are the most diverse in their own race. They have tons of sub-races because they're humans. They breed with everything. So the main reason, if I had to boil it down to why I find the most fun race for me to play as human, is because I can do anything. And I can do anything with most races, but with a human, I can do anything. With, I'll make a comparison here that can probably easily be, it's a very tenuous comparison, very weak one. But, so, I was playing a human pirate in a campaign I was playing in a couple weeks ago, and he's awesome. His name is Wallace Gorai. He's fantastic. And I love being a pirate because I can do my pirate voice. Yarr. I like my pirate voice. I'm a little bit under practice right now, but I loved it. It was so much fun. And he had little quirks that were so cool. I could have done the same character with a dwarf or with an elf, but they've got these strings attached in a sense. Elves are kind of known for being pompous, high and mighty. Dwarves are known for holding grudges. I like coming into a character with a blank slate, letting myself discover the character rather than the character discover himself. The Though I am open to that sort of thing, and that's a whole another video entirely. So my number one favorite race to play would certainly be humans. Mechanically, they're actually one of the more powerful races, but that is for a different video once again. So the main reason I like to play them most for fun's sake is just because they're so versatile. Now, my second and other second race, I don't have a second and third because I would rank both of these at the same level. They are Halfling and Gnome. And I say Halfling first because I think Halfling ekes out just a tiny bit beyond Gnome. But I digress. Let's look at them. So, the Halfling, I don't think anyone can disagree that they are by far the most silly race. Depending on how your GM plays them, of course. I don't know why a GM would make the Halflings ever a depressed race, though. They're so silly. They're whimsical. They're hilarious. They're comedic. They love to just make fun of everything, play tricks on people, and just do stupid shit for the sake of doing stupid shit. And I love them for that. I love it when my players are halflings. I had a player in a long-term game that was over the summer. He played a halfling blood hunter. Blood hunter is a homebrew class made by Matthew Mercer. I highly recommend you guys check it out. I'll probably do a video on it later. But it was hilarious. It's a halfling. It was basically a depressed halfling, but he was still silly about everything. Killing a Cyclops. Oh, yeah, we're going to stab him in the leg. It was great. All right, Cameron, don't hate me. We're calling you out on this. It was fantastic. Call him out on this. And then also I have a halfling in my current game, my current major game, who is a halfling bard. Halfling bards are the greatest things ever. Period. It's the picture. It's the bloody picture in the player's handbook. How can it not be the class made for a halfling? We'll get to the classes later, but I love halfling bards. Period. End of story. They're so cool. I love the halfling just because they're so silly, and they don't need any excuse to be silly. They're just silly. If a dwarf was silly, he'd probably have to have like a mental disorder or be disowned by his family. Halflings are they just love everything. They're always happy, and they're lucky. This is a small mechanical thing that I think is just fun as heck, too. They're the only race in 5th edition that has a trait called Lucky. When you roll a 1 on any roll, any d20 roll at all, you can re-roll the die. You have to use the new roll, obviously. I think the chance of getting another one is like 1 in 600, 1 in 700, something like that. It's a very powerful ability, some of you might say. You're going to get a 1 5% of the time, but it's so funny. When everyone else is like trying to climb up the mast and you roll a 1, you're about to slip off, but instead you re-roll, you get like a 15. You're like, oh, nope. You find a foothold right there. It's just a funny little thing I think halflings are really underappreciated for. All right, so that's the halfling, and I love them. Probably just a tiny little bit more than gnomes. But gnomes, there's a special place in my heart for gnomes. I have actually invented an entire continent just for gnomes. I'm not going to say it on this because some of my players may be watching. It's supposed to be a secret. But they are incredible. I don't know how most DMs see them, but I take their inventiveness, that sort of part of their pedigree, their heritage, to a whole nother level. They invent everything. They build all the cool stuff. Dwarves do too. Humans do too. But gnomes are the only one who are going to be like, hey, you know that cannon? Let's strap another cannon onto it. And that's also my gnome voice. I pride myself on having a good small race voice. Hell yeah, we're gonna take this cannon and we're gonna put 2 other cannons on it. We're gonna call it a triple cannon. The Trannon. Whatever. I love gnomes. They're fantastic. They get tinker tools. They have the tinker. If they're a rock gnome, they have the tinker racial trait, which is cool. They get to make these cute little inventions that don't really do all that much, but are really funny. And they get a lot of other stuff mechanically. I don't care about mechanically stuff. Gnomes are also kind of silly in their own way. They're very ignorant, blissfully ignorant about the danger of their technologies, or at least that's how I play them and how I view them in the games I run. They just don't care what's going on. They will blow their eyebrows off a dozen times in the same year just to perfect like a coffee maker. That's what I see gnomes as, and I love that. Whoops. And I love that about them. They're so cool. They're so silly. Some of you might think half-orcs are cool, dwarves are cool. No, this is a different kind of cool. This is the kind of cool that you make fun of, because it's fine if you make fun of it. It's meant to be made fun of. And I love that. I love that about gnomes. Absolutely. All right, so those are my favorite races. I could not narrow it down to one. And when I say number one and number two for human and halflings, gnomes, respectively, I mean that very, very closely. Halflings and gnomes hold a very special place to my heart. Humans only beat them by being the most versatile race. And even then, any race can be anything in the end. But those are the races. Classes are up next. So my single favorite class, well, here's the thing. My favorite classes, I actually had a really hard time picking out as well, and I'm kind of second guessing what I wrote down for myself. I have some notes in a post-it note right there. But what I had, and I'm going to stick to this, is my favorite class being either a paladin or a cleric. I'm going to lean toward cleric on this because clerics wield the power of divinity. They wield the power of a god in themselves. At a point, they can literally become the most powerful follower of that god. That's so cool. You can become a paragon of your deity. I love that. I know that's a little more in the vein of the paladin, where you are a defender of justice. But I see a cleric as more a beacon of your god's divine might. Not fury, not power, but divine might. Their reach across the world. The main reason I would probably say that I really like cleric is because I like to talk, if you guys didn't realize, and I love to proselytize as a cleric. And just so you guys know, proselytize, basically trying to convert people, trying to talk to people about your faith. I don't do that in real life at all. I have people do that to me a lot, though. I don't know what it is. But in-game, I love doing that. I love trying to persuade people of things they would never normally come into contact with. I run across a random peasant, ask him for directions. Hey, good sir, could you tell me where I may find an inn? He's like, oh yeah, it's around the corner, man. Okay, well, might I now ask you, have you heard the good word of our god Torm? And he's like, what? And then we get into a great discussion, and it's like 25 minutes out of a session, but I don't care, it's so much fun. I love roleplay. Love roleplay. Had to say it 3 times while stuttering horribly. So that's the main reason I like cleric. Now, to switch over slightly, I have cleric and paladin tied for first place on the class because I like them both a lot, and I've played them both relatively recently. So the reason I like paladin so much is because you are a weapon of your god's will. I would say tool, but that doesn't describe the whole picture. You are a weapon. You exert the force, the tangible fury of your god. That's so cool. When I get to the race class combo, you'll see why I'm so into the paladin, because I've been playing one a lot recently. But I very, very much love paladins. I'm still looking at the races. I just realized that. Let's go down to cleric here first. So as you can see, cleric, hoity-toity. He still carries a weapon. I don't like the image of a cleric carrying a weapon. That doesn't make sense to me. I feel like that is the job of the paladin. Clerics should be the ones to provide the power of the god, while the paladins provide the martial might. Here's paladin. This picture perfectly describes my guy, except he doesn't have a shield. And that's my number one classes, cleric and paladin. And also I like paladin beyond the fact that they're just cool as hell. They wield the fury of their god. They're badass in combat. Also, I like them because they can also proselytize, and with even more gusto because they're martial experts. So they can threaten people if they don't like their god at the first instance, unless they have a good aligned god. But that's a gray area. So my number 2 class. This is pretty close. It's not as close as I would say my races were, but it's pretty close. I'd say it's fighter. And this might sound weird, but I would say fighter is the most versatile class. In that, you can do a whole heck of a lot with fighter, especially in 5th edition. In other editions, I'm not sure fighter would even be on the list. But in this edition, fighter is so up there. In terms of fun, I can do anything with a fighter. I can be a champion fighter. I can literally be the gladiator in the arena. I can just destroy everything with incredibly powerful strikes. Or I can be a battle master. I can be a general, a tactician. I can be the great master of the blade or some stuff like that. I can become the hero, or I can be the eldritch knight. I can be this badass wielding arcane flame as well as a sword in my other hand. That's so cool. It's so versatile. They can do so much. And there's really no reason why anyone should ever rule out being a fighter, I think. If you're used to playing casters, build into an Eldritch Knight. If you're used to playing something like a Ranger or a Magic User, Eldritch Knight, but something with a bit more tactical prowess, Battlemaster. Battlemaster is so ridiculously versatile. Look at all these maneuvers they can use. And every one of them is cool. They're so cool. And then Champion, well, I mean, if you want to hit stuff really, really hard, go Champion. There's no reason not to. And that concludes my favorite classes. Number 1 is Cleric and Paladin. Number 2 is Fighter. A little bit farther away than my races, but go figure. Now for the race and class combo. I'm going to make this short and sweet. However, I do have 2 for this as well. So my number 1, unequivocally, Half-Orc Paladin. Half-Orc was not in my favorite races list, because I think Half-Orcs have a very large pedigree. They're easy to anger, they have a short temper. But when you combine that with the reason I like the Paladin, combine wielding the holy fury of your god against his enemies, or her, that's awesome. You combine that short temper with someone with the power of a god. What could possibly go wrong? Everything, of course. It's freaking awesome. I love it. You're a half-orc. You're this big, intimidating motherfucker. And you are wielding the power of a god. If everyone around you isn't either scared to death of your god or doesn't already worship him, you're doing something wrong. I am currently playing a half-orc paladin. He is my social justice warrior paladin. I talk about him probably in all of my D&D related videos on this channel, I think. And I love him. I love him very much. He's a fantastic character. Now, the second race class combo I really, really like that I have yet to play. I have just made the character and I've played an introductory session with him, with a GM that I'm just starting with. He's a great guy, though. Is a human wizard. And not just any human wizard. This is a human wizard that's very based in utility. He's older. He's starting at level 2, but he was a student and then a professor until he was 50 years old. And he's starting the game at like 50 years old, which is incredible. That's awesome. I think. I mean, I'm a little bit biased, obviously. But it's freaking cool. I think the main reason I like the human wizard thing is because, once again, humans can do anything. And wizards are really, 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 really cool. I'd say the coolest class in this whole list would be wizards. They are the nerds of magic. And that probably sounds really dumb to you guys, but the warlock and the sorcerer are so much cooler. Not to me. I find nerds cool, friend. Also really heavy lifters, but that's another video. I like wizards so much because they are the nerds of magic. They just study the shit out of it, and they learn everything, and they become the most powerful people in the whole universe. At level 20, I believe they have access to 38 spells. Yep. They have access to 38 spells in their spell book, and that's not including spells that they've copied from somewhere else. That's amazing. They know so many spells, so much magic is at their fingertips. It's so cool. And the human aspect brings it together. It's beautiful, really. This video ran quite long, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was my favorite race, favorite class, and favorite race class combo. I do hope this answered your question, Totes my Goats. Thank you very much for watching my D&D videos. I very much appreciate the support. And thank you all very much for watching. As always, have a grand day, and I shall see you kind people next time.
Ha ha ha!